Prince Harry's darkest day.
It's almost as if his life is going steadily downhill.
She will absolutely be by Harry's side on Friday if he wins, but he's lost now. I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser.
He's crying into his soup.
So the children, they say, are still in California, but I did hear that they are actually in the United Kingdom.
Prince Harry returned to Britain, hoping to look serious, focused, and in control. Instead, within hours, his court case collapsed. Buckingham Palace publicly corrected his team. Old private messages came back to haunt him, and Meghan Markle was nowhere beside him when the damage exploded.
It's bad for Harry and Meghan in their marriage. Because if my husband was going through this with his family, I'd have my butt right there by his side. Where's Meghan? Where is she trying to calm Harry down with all the things that are going on for him, his difficulty?
This was supposed to be a carefully managed royal return. So how did it turn into one of the most humiliating weeks of his public life? Harry arrived alone while his team continued to tease the possibility that Meghan and the children might appear later. That uncertainty was supposed to keep the public watching.
He has been playing the will they won't they game. However, he is still leaking to his favorite media entities that he is still considering Meghan coming, maybe appearing on Friday at his Invictus event, and bringing the children over to take them straight to Althorpe to see his mother's grave.
But then the High Court ruling landed, and suddenly, the entire visit changed. The Invictus message disappeared. The charity appearances became background noise. Every camera turned toward one question: how had Harry managed to lose so completely? The court rejected the claims brought against Associated Newspapers, with the judge finding that the stories at issue had been lawfully sourced. Commentators described it as a crushing defeat across the case.
He wants to be taken as a serious character, and here you have a judgment and a judge that says you're not a very credible witness, and I think it hits, it jeopardizes his authority.
Harry responded by calling the judgment a complete and utter whitewash, and argued that the evidence had not been treated fairly. But that furious statement created another problem. Instead of accepting the ruling, he appeared ready to continue the fight, and viewers immediately noticed the contrast. Harry left a Chatham House event smiling and giving a thumbs up, but behind that smile was a legal disaster, reportedly involving tens of millions of pounds in overall costs.
The Duke of Delusion has tried to put a smile on his face as he leaves Chatham House and new footage with a thumbs up. With a thumbs up to try and suggest that everything is okay, when we know it is far from okay.
The exact amount each claimant may ultimately face remains unclear, and insurance questions are still unresolved. But one thing was obvious: this was not the victory speech Harry had expected to give. Then came Meghan's absence. Multiple royal commentators said they believed that if Harry had won, Meghan would have appeared beside him, celebrated the result, and helped turn the moment into a Sussex victory lap. But Harry lost, and Meghan remained out of sight.
They're not going to get those glossy headlines about the sweet reunion between Markle and the man that walked her down the aisle, King Charles.
Is that only coincidence? Or does it fit a pattern viewers have noticed before, where Meghan becomes less visible when Harry is facing the worst headlines? Kinsey Schofield argued that Meghan also disappeared, while Harry faced criticism during the promotion of Spare and after other major public setbacks.
So I don't think, even though Harry's team is teasing we could get a Meghan Markle appearance on Friday, I don't think we'll see her, because when Harry's having a difficult time, Meghan doesn't want to be involved.
Charlotte Griffiths made an even sharper point. She said that if Harry had defeated the newspaper, she believed Meghan would have been standing by his side, declaring that they had defeated another enemy. Instead, Harry delivered his speeches alone, while the verdict dominated every headline.
And I do think Meghan's way is to whip him up a bit more and make him more paranoid.
Well, yeah, you've said that in the past, that you feel that she is the person that fed this idea that he was a victim whilst they were frontline serving royals. She's in his ear, sort of paraphrasing, Harry, you're better than this. They're all terrible people. Let's get you out and let's have some freedom and privacy. How did that work out? This could cost Harry a lot of money, couldn't it?
Well, there's £40 million on the table.
That absence mattered because Harry's trip had already been presented as a possible family reset. Reports suggested he wanted to bring the children, reconnect them with Britain, and possibly create an opportunity for King Charles to see his grandchildren.
You know, he wants to have his children acknowledged with a photo op. He wants to take complete advantage to do what he wants to do.
Harry also wanted positive coverage before the next Invictus Games. But without Meghan, without the children, and without a meeting publicly confirmed, the image of a royal reunion disappeared before it could even begin. And Meghan was still everywhere in the story, even while physically absent. Commentators claimed she was furious about the way Harry's accommodation situation had been handled.
The girl is completely lost her mind. They say she is not just upset or a little disappointed about what happened with Harry being turned away from Buckingham Palace. She is actually furious. And let me tell you why she's furious. You want to know why she's furious? Because she wants a reason to be furious so she can say, Harry, look, I told you. Don't think about going back to the United Kingdom. We have to stay in America.
Others suggested she never truly intended to return to London. Some argued that her security conditions were set so high that a visit would become almost impossible. None of those claims has been confirmed by Meghan herself, but the speculation grew because Harry arrived alone again.
Because she wants to set the bar so high that makes it impossible for Harry to get it, so she doesn't have to come back. Because Harry still, I believe, wants a relationship with his family, whether he's still trying to use them for something or not. Meghan doesn't.
Then Buckingham Palace entered the fight. According to the timeline discussed by several royal commentators, Harry had been offered accommodation at a royal residence and was given a deadline to confirm.
Has been planning this trip since January, and for months this offer's been on the table to have a royal residence.
Which is very generous.
Very generous. And Friday was the deadline. Harry rejects the offer on Saturday, changes his mind, probably after his security team said, realistically, son, there is no safer place for you to be in London than inside Buckingham Palace.
He reportedly declined after the deadline had passed, then changed his mind and requested a much shorter stay. By that point, the palace said arrangements could not simply be rebuilt at the last minute for one person after preparations had originally involved a family and an entourage. This was not a hotel booking. Security teams, staff, food, transport, construction restrictions, and access all had to be coordinated.
But didn't his team brief that he was going when he knew he wasn't?
Yes, it's my understanding.
Why would anybody in the royal family trust these two or that lot to not release? I mean, it's so toxic. And why would Harry, who apparently wants to be reunited with his father who's ill, in brackets, I think, sort out his inheritance, close brackets, put in place stuff that's caused, I mean, the British public have had it with them, big time.
Yet headlines appeared claiming Harry would stay at Buckingham Palace, only for the palace to publicly say that he would not. So who created the confusion? And why did Harry's team allow a story to spread that the palace was then forced to correct?
On the front page of the biggest selling newspaper in the UK, and that's what it's all about. The way that it's been handled is purely about making sure that everything he does and says, and it's all part of the brand, keeps them current. Will they, won't they be part of Buckingham Palace, be at Buckingham Palace? I feel sorry for the king with this because he's been played, I think.
Charlotte Griffiths claimed Sussex sources had previously provided information about meetings between Harry's advisors and the king's advisors. She said she arranged coverage after receiving information from the Sussex side, only for later reports to suggest that someone inside the palace had leaked it. If her account is correct, that raises a brutal question. Was the palace being blamed for a story that had actually been encouraged by Harry and Meghan's own operation?
If they just came in here and behaved normally under the radar, probably there would be nothing to worry about. But it's this need for attention. You almost think that could lead to people saying, well, I want some nutter out there would want to have a go.
Royal commentator Kinsey Schofield called the accommodation chaos a setup designed to make King Charles look cold and unreasonable. Her argument was simple. If the public believed Charles had withdrawn a room from his son at the last moment, Harry could again appear rejected. But the palace broke its usual silence and gave its own timeline.
Did Harry come out despite knowing that it wasn't an option for him and say, I'm staying in Buckingham Palace, so that the king would go, well, I guess we got to give him a room? You know, I don't know what his motives are, but he's never been the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree.
Charles did not allow the pressure to force a reversal. For once, the palace answered back. That could be the real turning point. Harry has repeatedly said he wants reconciliation, but private family repair cannot survive constant briefing wars. How can Charles trust a conversation if every detail may become a headline? How can William reopen the door if a private meeting could later appear in a book, an interview, or another documentary?
The royal family has moved on. They are done. Meghan cannot accept publicly. She doesn't want to accept that. But she certainly understands privately that they have done some things that she needs to try to capitalize off of. She's going to try to use them as much as she can.
The royal family does not only fear an argument, it fears becoming content. And William's position now appears colder than anger. Tina Brown described the family conflict as a cold war and said most relatives have moved on, even if Charles still hopes for some form of reconciliation. One report claimed Harry's name did not even come up during a long conversation with an old friend of William. That is not shouting. That is emotional distance, and it may be far more final.
Is he deaf to what people think? Seriously? Is he? Do he and his wife not understand that the shenanigans and the psychodrama, as you quite rightly said the other day, that your average Briton, whether they're pro-royal or not, just see them as entitled, arrogant, pain in the backside? Sorry, I'm being honest, because if you wanted to mend your relationship with your father, who's got cancer, you do it privately. Everything they do is through the media to get clickbait because their star has not just faded, it's been extinguished.
William was reportedly only miles away during part of Harry's visit, yet no meeting took place. Harry was also absent from the wedding of his cousin Peter Phillips, despite their shared family history. These details create a picture of a man who once stood at the center of royal life, but now arrives in Britain without a palace base, without his brother, and without Meghan standing beside him.
So we're done, Harry. The door is slammed shut. Indeed, I'd be happy if you never came back to this country again.
But the court ruling did not only damage Harry's reunion story, it also reopened his past through the evidence of Charlotte Griffiths, the Mail on Sunday journalist whom Harry described in court as someone he barely knew.
This man lied in court. He committed perjury. And he can sue me if he wants. King Charles must now strip his titles. I cut contact with journalists. They're referring to you, Charlotte. Fact, they messaged repeatedly and met several times. Claim, I would not share private information with strangers around a campfire. Fact, Harry described this in his autobiography. Claim, staff didn't brief media on private matters. Fact, emails show they did. Claim, Diana's story came from Mail listening into calls. Fact, it came from the prince's public statement.
Harry said he did not remember using the nickname Mr. Mischief, claimed he cut contact after discovering she was a journalist, and disputed the extent of their social connection. Then the messages appeared. Griffith said Harry was the person who contacted her through Facebook messages. In the exchanges, he called her Griff, responded to the Mr. Mischief nickname, gave her his telephone number, and wrote that he missed their movie snuggles.
I had to prove that I was, not using illegal means to gain information. In fact, he slid into my DMs. I would never have released these messages if Harry hadn't dragged us all to court. The nickname Mr. Mischief.
Griffith said the phrase referred to a group watching a film after a party, not a secret romance. But the friendly tone was still difficult to match with Harry's courtroom description of the relationship. The judge described Griffiths as an impressive witness and accepted her explanation of how she obtained information. Griffith said she never wanted the private messages released and would never have published them if Harry had not taken the newspaper to court. Think about that. Harry launched a case over alleged invasions of privacy, and the case itself caused old private messages to become public.
What does this verdict do to his reputation? Because we've had controversy around the charities. He's lost control of Sentebale, a charity that he co-founded.
He's being sued by Sentebale.
And being sued.
Yes, he's being sued by Sentebale right now.
For defamation
For
or something?
defamation, yeah, absolutely.
By the charity?
Yes, his own charity that he started.
Not ideal. Then you've got African Parks. He's on the board of that, and he used to be the chief operating officer of it, and they're shrouded in allegations about the abuse of African tribes. Then you've got the Archwell Foundation, or Philanthropies, or whatever it's called this week.
Whatever it
which
is.
has effectively been shuttered. And then you've got Invictus, which is losing sponsors left, right and centre. And now this?
No, this is a major blow to Prince Harry.
Griffiths also said the Harry she knew was fun, friendly, open, and occasionally lonely. She remembered a young man who went to parties, talked freely, and stayed friendly with journalists he knew socially. Her evidence challenged the idea that every personal story about Harry must have come from illegal methods. Sometimes, she argued, Harry and the people around him simply talked. That is why the messages were so damaging.
I mean, I think this is a huge setback, not just financially, but reputationally as well. And to be in London to receive the bad news, he can't hide in the Montecito mansion.
Harry's case relied heavily on the belief that his circle was not leaking and that journalists could not have obtained details through normal human contact. But his own memoir described a wild and open social life. His messages showed continued friendly communication, and his former acquaintance said he had rewritten his own past into something far more controlled than it really was.
Sorry to take up for the Duchess of Sussex, but how must it have felt for Meghan to hear Harry crying in court about how some of these articles broke up him and his beloved? I mean, what does it say about that relationship?
I cannot compute why Meghan Markle came up in the High Court.
That too.
Given that the articles pertain to 15 years ago, why are you talking about Meghan?
Then Meghan entered the courtroom story in another strange way. The articles at the center of Harry's evidence concerned relationships and events from years before he met Meghan, including his relationship with Chelsea Davy. Yet Harry became emotional and referred to the impact on his present life with Meghan.
Bringing up Meghan, I don't know, in order to make her proud or something. I think he's scared of Meghan. I think Harry's afraid of Meghan, and he thinks he's got to be nice to her even when she's not there.
Commentators asked why Meghan had become part of a dispute over stories published long before she entered his life. Imagine the tension inside Montecito. Harry had returned to Britain to fight over stories connected to a former girlfriend, then lost the case while Meghan stayed away. Of course, no one outside their marriage knows what was said privately, but viewers were entitled to ask whether Meghan appreciated hearing an old relationship discussed so emotionally in court while she was expected to support another expensive legal battle.
The other issue is what it means for him and Meghan, because she's not going to be happy that he's picked this fight with the Daily Mail and once again lost. And she's going to suffer because the two of them are now even more broke.
And money now hangs over everything. Reports have placed the overall legal costs of the case in the tens of millions, although Harry's personal liability and the role of insurance have not yet been fully established. This comes after the end of major media deals, questions around future Netflix work, and constant costs connected to security and their California lifestyle. How many more battles can the Sussex brand afford?
He is morally bankrupt. He relied on phone hackers. He relied on criminals. And he has been exposed for the man he is, a man who will lie about the royal family, about the British press, and a man who I do not believe has any place anymore in this country.
This is where Meghan's commercial instincts become part of the conversation. She has continued promoting products, clothing, and business projects in America, while Harry tries to rebuild himself as a serious global figure. He has spoken about Ukraine, security, anti-Semitism, veterans, and international affairs. But a judge rejecting his case damages the credibility he needs for speaking deals, partnerships, and influence.
And if I'm Invictus, I'm livid because he's supposed to be coming over here to promote 1 year to Invictus, the big Birmingham Games next year. Is this all a ploy to make his father look bad, to manipulate his father to feel obligated to show up next year united with Harry at the Games, which I've heard forever is Harry's ultimate objective, to get that royal seal of approval by having members of his family at the Games? Is he trying to manipulate the family into feeling guilty or looking bad? I think I told you from day one, I felt like this was a setup.
Harry wanted this week to prove that he could still command Britain's attention for serious causes. Instead, the court loss pushed Invictus off the front pages. Commentators said veterans and organizers would be furious that the accommodation drama, Meghan's speculation, and legal battle had swallowed the event. Some even claimed senior people around Invictus planned to discuss the distraction created by Harry's personal controversies. That does not mean Invictus itself has failed. The Games remain an important project for wounded and injured veterans, and Harry's role in building the event is one of his clearest achievements.
Supported Invictus Games, which is a brilliant concept, which is to show wounded people that they are not victims. What has he done to himself? He's turned himself into the biggest victim of all time.
But that is exactly why the current situation is dangerous. Every time Harry arrives to promote veterans, the questions become Meghan, security, Charles, William, lawsuits, and palace briefings. How long can the cause survive being pushed behind the Sussex drama?
He's supposed to be promoting the Invictus Games. This is supposed to be a redemption tour. This has to be a major blow not only to the ego, but to his plans over the next few days.
Even Harry's first public appearance created another controversy. He attended an event connected to photographer Meghan Harriman, a longtime friend of Harry and Meghan, who has faced criticism over political posts and later stepped down from a South Bank centre role.
As if Prince Harry's visit home to the UK wasn't controversial enough, his first visit was to support photographer friend Meghan Harriman. Harriman recently announced he was standing down as chair of the South Bank Centre after controversy over alleged anti-Semitism and putting his politics front and centre. Harry was a star guest at the premiere of a hagiography about Harriman. And there is, sure enough, a whole load of pictures of Harry at this highly controversial film.
Commentators questioned the optics because Harry had recently written about the rise of anti-Semitism in Britain. The appearance may have been intended as support for a friend, but it immediately created another political argument. That is the pattern of this entire trip. Every attempt to look serious produces another distraction.
Harry is just increasingly, Christine, becoming a huge embarrassment to King Charles, who I think was right to lock up Buckingham Palace and say, you're not coming anywhere near at this time, sunshine. But I think he needs to say that that is going to be permanent.
Harry wanted to speak about Invictus, but the court verdict arrived. He wanted a secure royal residence, but the palace dispute exploded. He wanted to appear independent, but questions about money returned. He wanted reconciliation, but his team in the palace began briefing against each other. And he wanted Meghan possibly to join him later, but her absence became the headline.
She is not trying to make Harry's life any easier to have a relationship with his family, because let me tell you, Meghan is not trying to have a relationship with her own father or her own family. So do you really think she is trying to have Harry have a relationship with his family if it can't benefit her?
Meanwhile, King Charles continued with official duties while his younger son's crisis unfolded. Charles has reportedly remained open to seeing Harry and his grandchildren, but he also appears unwilling to overturn every rule or deadline to rescue him. That distinction matters. A father can love his son while a king still protects the institution.
You can't just go, well, I'm going to go and stay at Buckingham Palace to security and cleaning and all that sort of thing. Bits are open to the public.
It's not a Holiday Inn.
No, it's not a Holiday Inn. There's no fruit machine in reception.
Harry may want Charles to act as both father and emergency problem solver, but the monarchy cannot function that way. Meghan's position creates another contradiction. Reports say she is tired of watching Harry be rejected by the royals, yet the Sussex brand still benefits whenever a possible royal reunion is discussed. Their titles, their children's royal connection, and the possibility of photographs with the king all carry enormous public value.
But she doesn't want things to be private. She doesn't want things to look like they have the appearance of still being on the outside if, no one can see that they are benefiting from being in alignment with royalty again. Because the Sussex brand was built on the royal connection.
They criticize the institution, but every suggestion of renewed access immediately becomes a global story. And what about Thomas Markle? Commentators repeatedly pointed out that Harry and Meghan speak about the importance of the children knowing King Charles, while Meghan's own father has also remained separated from them.
Absolutely ridiculous. And it's his own doing, and also his wife's doing.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, his wife's fallen out with her family, and Harry's now fallen out with his family.
Well, I'd like to say one thing to you, 2 words, and Kinsey said it for a month. Thomas Markle, if you're so concerned with your grandchildren seeing that their grandfather, try your father, or is it because Harry's father's the King of England?
The two family situations are not identical, and the private reasons may be very different. But the contrast weakens the claim that this campaign is only about compassion, grandparents, and family healing. If Meghan truly believes Harry is being humiliated, why is she not beside him now? If she believes the palace is treating him unfairly, why allow him to face the cameras alone? And if she never intended to come, why did the possibility of her arrival remain alive for so long?
Complete drama. And I believe the drama comes from Harry's wife. And I always explain why, because it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm sure to a lot of you it makes sense as well, because now reports are claiming that Meghan Markle is furious.
Every answer creates another question, and every question keeps Meghan at the center of a trip she did not even attend. Some reports still suggested Meghan might appear outside London, possibly around Birmingham or Althorpe, where Harry's mother is buried. But that possibility created its own criticism. Why would London be considered too dangerous while other British locations were acceptable?
She, of course, Madam Nightmare, she's not coming to London because it's not safe, but it's safe to go to either Birmingham for the Invictus launch or to go to Northamptonshire to see Diana's grave. So who made that decision, that if they're going to be allegedly under pressure or attacked or whatever, who says that they're not? It's ridiculous.
Would a visit to Diana's resting place remain completely private, or would it become another powerful image for the Sussex story? No appearance was confirmed, but the speculation alone changed the focus again. Harry may now return to California with more than a legal defeat. He has to explain why the palace accommodation story became so chaotic. He has to decide whether to appeal or finally step away from another court fight. He has to protect Invictus from his own headlines. And he has to face a marriage narrative in which Meghan is accused of appearing for victories but disappearing during disasters.
Because the titles matter. Having an open family connection matters to Meghan Markle. Knowing that they have proximity to royalty, it matters. So the story only works if Harry still has some doorway back into the royal world.
To be clear, Meghan has not publicly confirmed that she was furious, that she blocked the trip, or that she encouraged Harry's legal strategy. Those are claims made by commentators and unnamed sources. But her silence leaves the field open to those claims. In royal public relations, an empty space never stays empty for long. Somebody else fills it, and this week, Meghan's absence became louder than any statement.
This is a very difficult situation for Harry to be in because at some point he may have to choose between the family he came from, and the family that is responsible for him and his princely-like superpowers that he has given up for Meghan.
The biggest damage may be the loss of control. Harry spent years arguing that newspapers distorted his life, yet his own case released personal messages. He spent months planning a UK visit, yet the palace controlled the accommodation ending. He wanted the week to be about service, yet the court controlled the headlines. He wanted Meghan's possible arrival to create suspense, yet her disappearance made him look abandoned.
We must protect juniors' and children's privacy on social media, yet they're using them as a vehicle and always seems to be as a counterpoint to what the royal family have done.
I know what we're waiting for Meghan's response to the sweet Prince George picture on Instagram of the Princess of Wales and George. The countdown is on to see how Meghan counters that.
So what happens now? Does Harry finally accept that every battle cannot be won? Does Meghan appear at the final moment and try to change the story? Does Charles agree to a private meeting despite the public chaos? Or has William's silence already shown where the royal family is heading? Harry came to Britain hoping to prove that he still mattered. Instead, the court rejected his case. The palace rejected his late request. His old messages challenged his evidence. Invictus was buried beneath scandal, and Meghan remained missing when the cameras turned brutal. This was not a royal return. It was a test of everything Harry and Meghan have built since leaving, and almost every part of it cracked. Now tell me what you think. Was Meghan right to stay away, or should she have stood beside Harry during the worst moment of his trip? Did Buckingham Palace finally expose the Sussex briefing strategy? And after this legal defeat, can Harry still rebuild any trust with Charles and William? Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to Crown Clash because I upload a new video every day.